I haven't been in a very talkative mood lately. It's not that I don't have anything to say, I always do, but I don't always feel the spirit to say anything. That's simple. If you don't feel it, then don't do it. It's taken me a long time to honor what that is because my feelings were wrapped up in other things. I didn't understand them. Because obligations, duties, expectations, and entrainment were the mire of the form that gave me strength, the gravity of who I was. I've been interested in history, in mythology, and sacred sites and things like that for a very long time. I've become aware through studying myself, through systems, that a lot of history is spirit. Artistic allegory for internal expression. The way it works is we're in relation to something external, epigenetics. The spirit of what that is feeding through us. So we are descendants of the spirit. And we shed and we hold the elements which resonate with us, and we find form for in reality, and we express into icon to be. And it's unconscious. And it's kind of an amazing idea. It's natural, completely natural. But I realized a lot of the historical places don't exist. They existed. Troy existed. Sodom and Gomorrah, Babylon, all these places, they exist. But it's the polis which exists, not... It's a spirit which exists in the edifice of the society and the norms and the consensus reality narrations and the epigenetics. And as time shifts the sands, more sands mix, and you've got all these other spirits, and there's a dominant spirit, but the other spirit is still there, and in the right seasons of the Plutonic year, or whatever scale, system, cycle you want to relate them to, these seasons bring to bloom the spirit of these things. So Sodom and Gomorrah is now, Babylon is now, Zion is now, ancient Rome is now, the Battle of Troy is now. All these things are here now. They're waiting to be realized, born again through us. It needs, it doesn't need anything. We're in symbiotic resonance to these energies. It's not just what we think it is. Because every time it shows, it's in relation to other systems, scales, seasons. There's a lingering remembrance, but there is a change always. And the change is the awareness of the beings who are involved with it. Anyone in relation, anything in relation. They say you are doomed to repeat history unless you know it, but I feel you're doomed to repeat it if you know it. You have to embrace the unknown and release the echoes of the old. And we don't need to make sure that everyone else does. We need to allow them to do what they do, how they do. There are always going to be the kaleidoscope of colors closing and opening. Some are trying to close out others. But there's always a balance in the chaos. There's always something we will call order to arise. It's the derivative. It has a maturation, a creation, a ripening, and then a degradation, a return back into the shifting sands. At scale, an individual can't do much for cycles and seasons happening above our pay grade. We can only affect what we are in those seasons. And it's a maturance, it's a maturation, it's a curse or a cultivation. Sometimes it just depends on the day or the hour for some. So these spirits that are in history, that are in mythology, that are in our literature, our movies, the archetypes, which are ingrained within us, they're slow fading statics. You know, imagine if you lived for a split second and you heard part of a song. The seeds of the song are in that split second, but you don't know what they are. You can only know what you know in that moment. So rather than be limited by what that is, you should be inspired to realize that it's a gift to be alive. To be alive is to be realized, to understand how valuable it is. You have given birth to a sense of self. And that sense of self is in relation. That's kind of amazing. It might not be in your ideal, but that's the quest for the self. You have to find it. What is the ideal? Is it an ideal of denial, as it was for our ancestors? Or is it an ideal of liberation, as it was for our ancestors? Or any ideals, any impetus, whatever feeds the fire, essentially. Now these words, they're really meaningless unless you find something, some way to feel that, because that's the only life, is in the feeling. Otherwise it's life, it's make-believe. Going along to get along, because you can't handle all the shit that's going on, so you got to focus on something that you can build narrative around. And then when you fall into your own narrative, you realize all the shit that you can't escape is just happening. It's an old remembrance, a lingering reminder of where you've been, where you are, where you could be. The placebo effect is real. Belief is all there is, essentially. But we limit our beliefs, we limit the value, we limit what feeling we will assign the belief because we don't know. Sometimes we don't know by choice. But it's that tried and true method. Every answer you get is going to bring you to another question. More questions offer more release. Answers limit us. And they're a necessary process, or part of the melody to give distinction. So we just had the Sag Full Moon today. Let's see what we got here. Okay, yeah, I don't give a crap about that. Pull up the chart. Yeah, we just had the Sagittarius full moon today. This is Western Tropical Astrology. I'm spitting. House Athena, 27, Scorpio, Palace Retrograde. Venus just hit Gemini. That's an interesting party time. The compromise is scattered. How do you pull it in to make sense? Jupiter is at the 29th, the anaretic degree of Taurus, powerful degree. The slow digestion of a lifetime of realizations is being offered up to be accepted by the self in this moment. And it can be as simple as knowing that you don't know everything. There's no final judgment on anything. It's the results will be your process. You either take it and you learn with it, or you take it and you neglect it, you deny it, and therein denying yourself, so that the world can keep informing you by unraveling your truths. This is, they call it enlightenment, the age of enlightenment. Basically, it's just the world's getting so dark that you know the truth shines. It shows itself, and it's within you, but you have to peel away all the layers of compromise. This is why nature is the teacher for Sagittarius energy. It's not trying to teach you anything for its gain. It's just what it is. The process is the result. And it is simple as relation. What information are you in relation to? What experiences? People, places, things. There are many stages to realization. Revolution is one. So it's a rebellion within, rebellion without. And then that changes into realization, release, essentially. Steps on the journey. Soil under your feet. Last year's fruits, crops, they die and they deteriorate back into the soil and enriching it. Confirmation. I think something just finished charging. Alright, so now we the moon is at 7 degrees Sagittarius. Continuing on, just came out of the full moon and the sextile to Pluto. And we'll start making aspects to all the other planets. It's going to, when it hits Capricorn, the early degrees, it will make a working in conjunct with the Sun. So emotional realizations of true spirit, and by true spirit I mean the student, the spirit of the child, the student, who's open to learning in relation. And oftentimes that's learning in relation from what of the fallen sage, essentially. The teacher who has fallen, the one who shows through life the society which rises, but it's not perfect. The hero, the myth that shows you through mistakes, through denials, through lack of understanding, through pure ignorance. This is the kind of energy you can understand when you feel it. You know when you're lying to yourself or something else or someone else. When the emperor is wearing no robe, but everyone says it's awesome, and you have to say that too, otherwise you get disemboweled. Then you realize, do you want to be in relation to what that shit show is? Do you want the epigenetics of that reflection, Medusa's stare, to infect you with a remembrance of what other people are living through? We're all living our own lives. We don't need universal base income of spirit. I don't need to reduce the value of life to someone else's shit show existence. Doesn't mean you deny it, but you don't hold that as the litmus and deny other people from achieving or being in this world because you have an axe to grind, because you can't face yourself. So that's the unity of Aquarius that makes us individual have to individuate from consensus decrepitation. The things that were once holy and found to be pure are found to be faulty, found to mire us in a false power. And that's in all facets of life, but most importantly within ourselves, and those who can work with that, have the youthful child, curious spirit, knowing that they're a student of the divine, they'll be able to get through that, no problem. Might be a problem for a while, but the problem is the process. If it wasn't a problem, you wouldn't know the answer. You wouldn't realize the value of it. And then those who can't shake it off because they're still maturing through different energies, they will be pulled into the epigenetic stare, and they will recruit you or try to, because that's operating through their spirit. It's just like if you've seen Jimi Hendrix play live, that the spirit of that moment lives through you. It's just experiential. So what do you hang on to? What do you release? And is your release a conscious effort, or is the release a natural response to you grabbing for the truth within yourself, or something of a more pure expression? That is the kind of spirit you will be infusing with that inconjunct from the sun to the moon. So you can work that into your conscious possession, so to speak, by thinking of things in those terms. You're a student. You don't excuse bad behaviors or any of that stuff, but you understand that people are deep in their processes. And you are too. And you might be blessed not to be going through the same process as everyone else, or cursed, but there's always something to reach towards, and that's within you. That's the light within you. So you can tap into the ancestors of any age. It's different energies. And it's just your imagination. If you can tap into the childlike imagination, either through fantasy or creating something, a book, music, art, that's going to be the muse that inspires your fire, that brings you to life in this world, so that as the darkness falls, the light rises, and that's people living in spirit, not replicating the darkness, essentially. So yeah, a lot of shit's going on, a lot of things are going to continue to go on. I'm not going to talk about that because I don't want to empower it. You should be informing yourself and be aware of all the shit going on. Don't believe everything you hear, everything you read. It's all half-truths at best. It's meant to mire you in relation to Medusa's stare, so take it in but release it, knowing that you control your own destiny if you so choose. If you're going to fail, you might as well fail at something you would love to succeed in, rather than not trying at all. That's seppuku of spirit. That's spiritual disease. And it's a natural phenomenon, rises with the changing of cycles as civilizations change. And they're always changing. We just don't have the eyes to see because we live short lives. But you can see within yourself, and you can know it when you find it there, when you feel it there, when you fiend it within. Comfort kills. So if you're going to kill yourself with comfort, make it the best ever, essentially. Don't settle on scraps. Alright, that's all I wanted to say. So thanks for watching, listening, and being.